And we're live. It is Monday, the 29th day of September in the year of our Lord 2025. It is 8 o'clock a.m. Washington time, and I would like to offer my congratulations to whatever Sprite of Mischief installed deport Stephen Miller signs along the route of his commute to work. I think this is exactly the sort of, you can see a picture of one of them on today's Dog Shirt Daily. This is exactly the sort of uh, nonviolent legal actions that we want to encourage. Um, uh, Targeted or untargeted. I mean, this one is beautiful, particularly because, like, there's no way he's getting from his house to the White House without seeing it. And by the way, if enough people tweet about it, he might see it separately from his drive. But this is exactly the sort of creative message sending, unafraid that we want to be sending. For the record, people keep asking me when I say Sprite of Mischief, that means it's somebody other than me. Sometimes it's somebody who I actually don't know who it is, but I learn of the operation. Sometimes it is somebody who I do know who it is, but who prefers not to be named. But Sprites of Mischief are people other than myself. And so you can, anytime I use the term some sprite of mischief did this, it means it wasn't me. Also, by the way, the sprite of mischief, like the chief sprite, um, who has, made a statement to Dog Shirt Daily at one point about sonic interruptions of MAGA events. Um, uh, I do not, that is not me either. And so, but look, to everybody who aspires to being a sprite of mischief, and it is a high fucking aspiration, like, just think about how easy this one was to do. We all know where Stephen Miller lives. People have been chalking his sidewalk, which is a fabulous action. Um, and you know how to get from that place to the White House. You got to go on the Spout Run Parkway, which means on you got to go on that military road thing in Arlington. And so you just make a sign and you stick it in the ground. And I'm sorry, guys, it's not that hard. And that hurts Stephen Miller's feelings when you do that. We know that it does because he talks about it, about how, how you're not allowed to do things like that because then you're part of the left and he'll go after your funders. And if you've committed a crime, you'll go to jail. So, it's easy to do, it's legal, and oh, by the way, it hurts Stephen Miller's feelings. Also, it's funny and it shows other people that you're not afraid. So go out there, people. Think of creative, sprightly mischief things to do. Do them. No violence. Margins of the law are fine, but don't go into frank illegality because that gets dangerous. Um, or at least don't go into frank illegality that you're not willing to pay the consequences for. I mean, once you do that, you're in civil disobedience land, and that there's some awesome stuff to do there, but you gotta be willing to pay the consequences. Which raises the question of how you know what the consequences are in a world in which we blow up Venezuelan civilian boats with no criminal charges or whatever. So, like, that gets into some like dicey territory. But here's the thing: Sprite of Mischief actions can be solidly on the cool side of the law, and they can be super funny. So go out there and get in touch with your inner Sprite of Mischief. Folks, it is not true that the sun is shining, but metaphorically speaking, the sun is shining. The birds are chirping. I know this because they woke me up this morning, and it is going to be a great freaking day.
Dog Show TV, a forking revolution in morning television.
Folks, you are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is a forking revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features, and there are many, is that sometimes I really don't know who the co-hosts are going to be until they show up.
Sometimes, like every freaking day.
Because this morning I sent my usual message out to the co-hosts saying who's going to be here today, and uh, and the co-hosts responded kind of that they were all tired or had babies that were
Or you just
might
didn't
make
want to.
noise, and for which reason Mike Feinberg may be drifting in and out today. Um, and um, and one of them is on a plane, and another one is somewhere else, but I was all prepared to be alone today, but I figured I wouldn't be because probably Holly would show up. But then Mike showed up too, and that's cool. I'm delighted to see them. And another one of the revolutionary features, of which, as I say, there are many, is that sometimes I find sneaky ways of praising my co-hosts that many people would not notice, but that if you are in the know, you can detect in the monologue is a love song of praise for a co-host. And all of which is a long-winded way of saying that we are not allowed to have fun anymore, but Holly has cool writing on her cup. What is on your mug, Holly?
You- Every time I bring this mug, you're fascinated by it, and it's really nice. It just says "Good Morning Acadia." It's from Acadia National Park.
Oh, that's boring.
Yeah, and but it does have a lobster on it. Let's see. Here's a lobster in place of the eye. That's
Oh
cute.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. You
But
also
I
have
bought
writing on
that
your
because it's one of these giant. I love
yeah, it
a
is a giant
giant
mug.
mug, and this is one of my favorite mugs, just because of the size and the tiny lobster. I do like the tiny lobster.
Yeah, it's relatively rare that your cup of coffee exceeds the size of a lobster, because usually lobsters are large and cups of coffee are small. But in here, So what about your shirt?
Oh, so my shirt. So I'm getting quite a collection, by the way, of like democracy shirts, and what I like to do is wear them on my runs on the mall. So as y'all may know, as I mentioned on the show, in theory, I'm running the Army 10 miler, which 10 years ago would not have been a big deal. That would have just been a Saturday or a Sunday. But Holly's 50 years old now and has my discs in my low back that were already a problem 10 years ago are much more of a problem. And I have recurrent sciatica. And also, I don't really want to do this anymore. And yeah, and yet, I signed up for the Army 10 miler with my friend Tammy, who I've mentioned on the show before. She's even older than I am, and I probably would have quit, but she's like crushing her training, and she's shaming me into actually doing it. And so I've been running on the mall. I'm still concerned about finishing the Army 10, but I probably
We
will.
have
I'll just
breaking
feel like
news.
shit afterwards.
Breaking news. We have 41 live
Oh,
viewers
nice.
right now, and
It's
that is a
because I'm
record.
talking about the running the 10 miler and people are impressed.
And
So,
that is a record for Dog Shirt TV. 41 live viewers in the studio here. But folks, if you are joining us on Substack Live, because every now and then, once a week or so, we do the show on Substack Live, and we do
We
it to
do?
track. Yeah, I just add Substack Live as a streaming destination, and we do it to trap people like you, and to get you hooked on the show. But that means you need to, and I don't know why, is it just for me that Holly is large and everybody else? Oh, there we go. Um, we have reduced Holly's
Well,
size
I am
here.
very large. So
But we do that to show you. We do this every morning at 8 o'clock. And right now, we have a panel of co hosts that is a veritable interagency process. Nowhere else can you get a 15-year FBI agent with a actual baby in hand, alongside one of the chief Africa analysts at CIA, with a "Hate Never Made Any Nation Great" shirt. And so, like, if you want to join, and we have this incredible Greek chorus now, 42 people watching live, and they're all chatting in the chat. And that chat
join up, man.
is one of the great institutions of American life and letters. And we don't moderate content because we don't have to, because all our people are freaking awesome. And the amount of expertise in that chat on a range of subjects would blow your mind. Sometimes they come up on screen and you get a glimpse of it, but you'd be surprised how awesome that chat is. So if you want to join every morning or 2 mornings a week or whatever, or not just when I'm feeling like, hey, today's a good day to share with Substack Live, if you want to join, all you have to do is become a paid subscriber of Dog Shirt TV. And I can't promise you that 100% of the revenue from Dog Shirt TV goes to Sprite of Mischief actions, or actually my mischief actions, because some of it goes to funding the site and whatnot. But I can promise you that that um, you know like, this is not going to make a luxurious life for me or my co-hosts. This is all designed to uh, buy projectors. And sometimes, the frickin' park police sees all your projectors and you have to replace a lot of equipment. And sometimes it is, flying places to deal, to dispense justice with projectors, or some other mischief. We planted a huge sunflower garden outside the Russian embassy. There's stuff we're doing, and by the way, there are some, legal fees associated with some of that stuff. Um, and so, I wouldn't say this is a nonprofit operation, because it is, you know, not a nonprofit operation. I will say it's an operation that is not making a profit. It is raising
Live right now.
it is raising a little bit of revenue to offset costs,
I'm
and
basically
to
breaking
pay
even. So
a little bit for a little bit of help running it. So, guys, buy a gift subscription to somebody. Send. But uh, okay, I got another matter I want to talk to you all about, and I
I
think.
thought you wanted to debate my
Oh
shirt.
yeah, I do want to debate your
Yeah,
shirt.
and Ben, I don't know how much time I've got just because there is a
Let
ticking
Mike
time
talk.
boss of chaos and bodily fluid next to me.
Mhm.
Um, can I just go off on a slight Sprite of Mischief tangent?
Yes, but then I also want to get you to talk a little bit about the Lawfare Public Service Fellowship, which you are a current participant in, because I have decided that there are now 17 new FBI agents who may need help. There are
Five of them have contacted me. Yeah.
at least two or three AUSAs from the Eastern District of Virginia who have lost their jobs. there are a lot of other people around, and we need to ramp up the Public Service Fellowship, which means ramp up the Public Service Fellowship fundraising. And
Donations, yeah.
I want to get everybody who doesn't know about this thing, make sure they are aware of it. But first, Sprite of Mischief tangent.
Yeah, so and you know this story already, Ben. Holly, you do not. I've always been a pretty private person the whole time we've known each other. I was not on social media. I tried to avoid doing things in public. So this interacting with people is new. And I'm trying to gradually ramp up my own Sprite of Mischief training, but limiting it to my marriage. So I just want to share what my wife found in our bathroom unexpectedly when she came home from church the other day.
And just so that you know, guys, Mike, for those you already know, this is a horror movie. It's not really a buff because that implies a light interest. I would say a scholar of horror movies. And also,
what isn't Mike a scholar of? I've yet to find something. I'm going to give him an Africa quiz. I bet I can get you.
I will not do well.
I'm going to best you on something, Mike.
Unless it's about the subplot that takes place in Africa in The Exorcist Part 2, The Heretic. We can talk about that till the cows come home, so to speak. But
anyway, he's also a bit of a tinkerer. He can make stuff. And so, if you think about preparations for Halloween
we're going to have a video in the next week or two of what the outside of my house looks like. I was going to do it all yesterday, but the sort of piece de resistance, the largest item I've got, took considerably longer to assemble than I expected it would.
But here's an important question about is pranking your wife with objects, of which we are going to see an example in a moment, a derivative benefit of decorating for Halloween, or is decorating for Halloween a derivative benefit of what is really a giant conspiracy just to prank your wife?
No, because this wasn't. It's limited to my wife now because I don't know anybody else in my city that is allowed to talk to me since my special agent in charge made me a non-person for the field office.
Oh, and what is the name of your special agent in charge?
Dominique Evans. Yeah.
What's that?
Dominique Evans.
Dominique Evans. So Dominique Evans, the special agent in charge of the Norfolk field office, made Mike a non-person, and nobody's allowed to talk to him anymore.
But when I was at the office, for example, around the holidays, one day people just walked in, and in the elevator was a 7.5-foot tall, 200-pound motion activated Krampus animatronic. This wasn't limited to my wife, but that's really the only
audience you've got now. All right, so let's see it. What happened?
So my wife is, she's into spas and makeup and toiletries, so I thought it would be fun to get something specifically for the bathroom to put near her various Kiehl's and Korean skincare products. So when she came home, this was sitting on the vanity. Now I aired a little bit. And
hold that up again. I need to screenshot it.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the image for today's.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
Now, the company I ordered this from is an organization called Dapper Cadaver. There's a whole universe of companies that make stuff like this at very high quality. And it was
high quality cadaver.
What's that?
What makes a high quality as opposed to a low
So,
quality?
so when you're buying something particularly life size, you obviously want it to be posable. And, a lot of the posable stuff, the seams sort of show. So for my Halloween decorations outside, I've got a good dozen skeletons. But a lot of them, if you look up close, you can sort of see the wiring and the hex nuts and stuff like that allows them to move. The Dapper Cadaver stuff is really seamless, both literally and figuratively.
This episode of Dog Shirt TV is brought to you by Dapper Cadaver for all your animatronic pranking and Halloween needs.
And they're not the only ones. I mean, there's the Horror Dome, there's Evil Soul Studios. Like, there's a lot of these companies. And Evil Soul Studios got me in trouble because another part of the decorations are gravestones. And I like realistic looking ones. And my wife got really upset because all the gravestones I bought for this year look real and have actual names and religious inscriptions and poems. Like, they don't look fake, they don't look Halloweeny, they look like something that somebody would actually buy for their family.
Can you do them custom? Like, could I buy a gravestone
Yes, you
with
can.
my information on it?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I'll send you offline some links.
Are you going to estimate your date of death?
Well, I've always joked that it was going to be on my gravestone that I wasn't a real lawyer. So I was thinking of making
anyone not even a lawyer.
Well, not even a lawyer, right? But I've never quite known how to punctuate the expression Benjamin Wittes, who wasn't even a lawyer. But Quinta Jurecic and I have a long-standing joke about this. So you mean just the idea of having a gravestone that says that about me that I can take a picture of for Quinta would be, I don't know that it'd be worth a lot of money, but it would be worth some money.
You could do it for under $250. No, I mean, like, look, high quality horror props and animatronics, like, they're not cheap.
Hey guys, we're at 43 now.
Wow, Mike.
All right,
has
so
very talents.
So
be on my
anyway,
grade,
so
I'm not
reads
talking about it.
proofs, he investigates Chinese counterintelligence matters. He pranks his wife with Halloween animatronic products, and he is going to do a video of his house decorations, which I just want to say, it's not even October yet. He's been working on this shit for months.
Months, yeah. My wife has not been able to park in the garage since we came home with our child in August because it is so filled with Halloween decorations.
I'm sure she loves that.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
Is any of the Halloween decorations going to be a dig at Dan Bongino or Kash Patel?
It's not. Look, I really, as you probably figured out, love Halloween. I think it is the most fun day of the year.
And it's sacred. We don't pollute it with...
Yeah, I don't want it to be a political statement. I want it to simply be about scaring people. And I was a little disappointed because I put up one of the decorations yesterday. I'm not going to say what it is yet. Ben, I think you know because I sent a picture to one of our groups. But the neighborhood kids loved it. Like, none of them were scared. We had a crowd for hours of children under the age of 10 just, like, beaming at it. And none of them were...
And that bothered you? You made children happy and you're upset at yourself?
Yeah, the point was to scare them.
Yeah, but nobody thinks, my children, by the way, have been their whole lives. They love Halloween. I actually love Halloween, and I love seeing other people's decor, but I do not. That's a shit ton of work. And they're always telling me like, oh, like, why can't we decorate for Halloween? And I'm like, who's stopping you? Like,
my basic thought is, when I was a kid, there was always a house that was so decorated you wished it was your own.
That's what my Kids.
And basically, like, I don't want my son to ever have to grow up wanting that. Um,
Kids are so deprived. Yeah,
we
there's.
we watched our first family movie on Saturday, and I'll just say it was very appropriate.
Oops, sorry. You showed the baby a horror movie.
The whole family watched it. My wife cringed for most of it and held my son facing away from the TV with her hands over his ears. Um, I'll just say there were a lot of screams and a lot of chainsaw sounds coming out of the television.
Yeah, I do like walking around the neighborhood and see the decor, but I'm not as you know, I'm not a horror. I do not like horror movies, and
But Holly, the thing is, you can make any holiday scary. For Christmas, we have a giant animatronic Ebenezer Scrooge.
oh,
That is quite
or you can
frightful.
just go visit your parents.
Well,
That was a
I'm,
joke.
I'm
It
trying to
was a
figure
joke.
out
It
because
was
it
a
is
joke.
coming up. I don't know how to make Yom Kippur scary, but
I
I'm
mean,
working.
is it confronting
You can
one's
have a burnt
sin?
offering.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, isn't confronting one's sin scary?
depends what the
We
sins are.
distribute it over so many people that, although I will say, in the coming of Yom Kippur, the last item on the list of the what's called the Great Confession, the Vidui, um, is the ultimate confession for America right now. It translates to "We have been zealots for bad causes," and I just want to say that is, it's a medieval, I think it's a medieval or earlier poem, but zealots for bad causes, every now and then the ancients got one right. And I want to say if you are going to be celebrating Yom Kippur in Israel, in Great Britain, in the United States, in any country of your choice, ask yourself, have you been a zealot for a shitty cause? And because Jews do confession in a very communal way, it's a we, not an I. We're not talking about your particular sexual indiscretions, right? We're talking about our collective sins that collectively
Evangelicals don't do that.
present the Messiah from coming. Um, Ask yourself, however you define we, have we been zealots for bad causes? And if the answer to that question is not a resounding no, reform yourself and find a different community, um, and look elsewhere for your reinforcement and validation, places where you are not being asked to be a zealot for a bad cause.
Well, now I'm going to blow your mind because I'm going to tell you about one evangelical tradition for Halloween, which they don't like Halloween because, of course, it invites Satan to into our lives. So they don't like Halloween generally. But one of the things that it was big in the 90s, 80s, and 90s. I don't know if it's still done, but I'm sure it is actually. They do something called a Hell House. Have you heard of a
There's
Hell
a
House?
great documentary about this.
Yes. So it's like a haunted house, but it's hell, and that's where you're going. And it ends if you don't invite Jesus into your heart, and it ends, of course, with an invitation to invite Jesus into your heart. And in the meantime, it scares the shit out of you. That is fun. It's like a haunted house, but it's like they're telling you it's the destination of your soul. So you could try that, Mike. You could build a
Yeah,
hell
I'm,
house.
I'm I am already in trouble because without getting into the details, my wife works in a religious adjacent religious environment,
Not one that
and
does hell houses.
well, they're doing a trunk or treat, and we're going to bring our
That's
son.
that's
And just suffice to say, the decorations I came up with for the back of our SUV were very quickly vetoed. So
Trunk or treats are fine. They also do trunk or treats, although many other, like especially for smaller children, many other organizations do trunk or treats, and that's lovely. So
What is a truck or treat?
trunk.
trunk or treat, you decorate the back of your car, you fill up your trunk or the back of your SUV with candy, but you decorate it, and it's for kids who are really too young to stay up late and go trick or treating. They do it at like preschools, churches, synagogues, community centers,
Gotcha.
something like that. So I was going to deck out the back of one of our SUVs, and just suffice to say, my plans were vetoed.
All right. It is time to talk about Holly's shirt. Holly, for those who are visually impaired, what does your shirt say?
Hate never made any nation great. And it's one of my collection now that I go running on the mall with these pro democracy anti MAGA shirts. And I'm just waiting to get it. I'm daring them to arrest me. So
Okay, and so here's my question, folks. Is it true? It's a great sentiment, but I want to propose several arguably great nations that hate really did provide some, at least temporary benefit to. Let's start with the Mongols. Biggest conquest, land conquest, I think, in world history. Um, Baghdad, the city, has never recovered from being fully recovered from being sacked by the Mongols. I think they killed around 250,000 people in the sack of Baghdad. They were seriously like, you did not want to be on the wrong side of the Mongols. Uh, why should I not say the Mongol Empire is a big counterexample?
I mean, it depends how you define great. I mean, the Roman Empire was great. They also were just horrible to people. I mean, if you go back into the past where everything was just brute strength and might was right and there was no rule of law and no concept of human rights and no concept of women's rights, and I mean, I guess you could, in that context, you could call different nations great, but I feel like in the modern context, we don't, those are not values for us, or they shouldn't be. And also, I will say that a nation built on that type of thing, or an empire, eventually is not, especially in our day anyway, where we have concepts of things. It's not a sustainable model, like police state dictatorship. I mean, North Korea has lasted a long time, but I would still say like it's not a sustainable model.
All right, Mike, can you think of a nation that hate helped make great?
Yeah, but I mean, I want to take issue with one of the assumptions in this question. Hate can be righteous and a cause for good. Like, there are certain things that very much should be hated. Um, you know, Soviet communism, German Nazism. Like, these are things that I think we are
Modern
just.
Putinism.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that Hungarians who rose up in 1956 were very much motivated by hatred of the country that was ruling them. And I would challenge anybody to really take issue with the morality behind that uprising.
Okay, but I don't think so. I see your point. However, again, ultimately a violent thing that like is I mean, I get okay. I'm working myself into a corner here. I can understand why violence is sometimes necessary, but if the ultimate goal of the violence is true hate of your enemies, and there's no sense of sort of reconciliation or that sort of thing, you're just gonna like kill all your enemies, and it's just pure unadulterated hate. I I think that continues a cycle that is ultimately destructive.
it's also a cycle that's like human and been with us for literally all
It
of
is, but the greatest
like
movements break that cycle, like the anti-apartheid movement and the civil rights movement,
well,
and
wait. J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, and Trump have assured me that the formerly apartheid countries are now actively persecuting white Christians. And if you
not.
can't believe J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller on issues of racial justice, who can you believe?
Well, and so you all might not know this, but Holly's sister is actually.
No. We're not talking about that.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't know that was a dangerous subject. Okay, sorry.
Well, okay, you could say she lives in South Africa.
I
Just
was going to say, is a white South African Christian.
okay, yeah, that's okay. I mean, she's
Is she persecuted?
no,
That's all I wanted to go
okay.
say.
I thought you were going to go into what she's doing there, but anyway.
Oh, no. Um, uh, anyway, folks, I think the shirt is valid, not because it is literally accurate, but because everybody knows what it means, and everybody knows that what it means is right. And which is to say, that a movement built on hatreds and resentments is never going to be a movement that makes this country or any other country great. And that's not to say you can't find examples where hatred plays a righteous role, including right now. There's a lot of hatred in Ukraine, and it is justified, and it plays a real role in generating Ukrainian nationalism and separating Ukraine culturally increasingly from Russia. It actually has a real role in the development of Ukrainian nationhood. And I'm not going to walk away from that. Actually, I'm not going to say that's wrong or bad or anything. I will say that a slogan like this is highly contextual, and in the context of running on the mall, where everybody knows exactly what hats it's a response to, I say right on, and we can debate it playfully
Also,
on the show.
I would say with regards to Ukraine, I agree with right now, they're literally fighting for their lives, and hate can be an animating thing. However, if let's say after they God willing win this war and get then the Russians, if they then continue to make hatred of Russia and Russians a lifeblood of their nation, it will not end well. Like if they then become, their whole foreign policy is aligned towards, targeting Russia, or like getting Russians out of Ukraine, and all the ethnic Russians, sort of Russian speakers, like being persecuted, like that's not going to be healthy for Ukraine, for their
Hatred
own.
is an inherent part of self-defense. At the moment at which someone is attacking you and you fight back, if you are kidding yourself if you don't acknowledge that there is a little bit of hatred in the act of fighting back. But the moment you are hating and not fighting back, which is what MAGA is all about. It is all about the recruitment of hatred for non-defensive purposes. It is that's where it becomes an irredeemably awful thing. Okay. It is now 8:39, which means we have 21 minutes left. Mike has as much time as the baby will give him. Holly has 11 minutes because she has to get off at 8:50.
Go a little bit more.
And so the question is, guys, audience members, Greek chorus members, co-hosts, what are our last 20 minutes of this show going to be about? What agenda items do you propose?
I did have some funny stories, but if they don't have other agenda.
We could do an Ask Me Anything for all three of us.
Well, folks, all shows are always an Ask Me Anything. But if you want us to designate this an Ask Me Anything, we will address any subject you want in the Greek chorus.
So I know while they're doing that, I know what's going to be on my tombstone, and something to the effect of could injure herself on anything. So I cut my eye taking off a hoodie on Friday. It was bleeding, and there's still like a scab there. What happened is this hoodie had a drawstring on the hoodie part, and I guess it somehow got like lodged against my skin. Anyway, it kind of zipped across my eye as I took my sweatshirt off, and I literally injured myself on a hoodie. And that comes after one of the times that my husband loves to bring up is some years ago when I injured myself on a dinner roll. I cut my lip open on a dinner roll.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
All right. So
there's a lot of questions in here, but man, these are not the sort I were expecting.
None of them are asking me.
These are not fun, playful questions. These are like matters of state and policy.
All right. John Hawkinson asks, how do we feel about the notion that Lindsay Halligan is not validly appointed? And I will just say that the answer to that question I don't know the answer to that question. I have never studied it. I was obsessed last week with the question of what we could say about the indictment itself and what the motions are that attack other things, including the validity of Halligan's appointment, were not at the front of my mind. That said, Ed Whalen, who used to be the head of the Ethics and Public Policy Center and is a National Review writer and a very, very deep conservative who's mostly known for, wrote a piece arguing that there was a significant deficiency with the Halligan appointment, which
two significant deficiencies, because there's two different theories under which you could say she was appointed.
Right, and I will say about Ed, who Ed is a much hated figure in a lot of lefty and center legal circles. I have always liked Ed Whalen. I think he is he and I have a gazillion differences, and he's made some terrible mistakes over the years. But I think he is a truly principled and a person who he's among other things a very smart former OLC lawyer. I've known him for 20 years, and I actually have a quite good relationship with him. And if Ed is going to come out and make this argument, I would say that has that colors my instincts about the question. That said, I have not studied it and don't know.
So I'm just going to highlight one. It's more a bit of like current news trivia than anything else, but it really makes the whole debate a little more interesting. Which is, sorry. What really might decide whether the appointment is legal is an old Office of Legal Counsel memo that specifically addresses these situations. And what makes that memo particularly interesting is that the author was Sam Alito, and it's not very well known. I think it's public now because of the Alina Habba litigation, but Alito, the arguments in the memo suggested this appointment is not legal. And it's going to be very interesting to see if this does go to the Supreme Court. Does Alito follow his own guidance?
Yeah, I agree with that. So, um, all right, who at Lawfare, I just lost this important question from Andrew. Andrew, why don't you pop up and ask this orally so we can address this very important question. Who at Lawfare Dogshirt TV would win in various activities: 100-meter dash, arm wrestle, chess, and chess boxing? All right, let's take those in order. 100-meter dash, we've got a bunch of runners. Uh, uh, I don't know. I'm trying to think who our best all-around athlete would be. Normally I would say Mike is probably likely to be our fastest guy, but Mike is short, as am
Yeah, well,
I.
sprints are not my thing.
Right, short guys can't sprint. And so
Have you not seen an NFL running back? I mean, there's some super fast short guys.
they're not short like
We
we
had to
are.
do sprints for our fitness tests in the FBI. It's one of the regular events every year. It was easily where I lost the most points, like without fail. No, Matt,
So
see, I am very much not tall.
yeah, so uh, um, who is what is our next so I don't know who else what can we do um on who are our best sprinters? I know we don't really have tests of strength or speed. Arm wrestling, all right, first of all, let's be honest, the answer on the arm wrestling side is gonna be one of the males. I have seen Mike's biceps, and I don't know that I could. That said, I've also done solid core with Mike, and my weight level is generally a little higher than his on the arm stuff and solid core.
I'm
So
not fair, but I feel like I would win something solid core-ish.
yeah, Holly would certainly win the solid core competition. So I don't know. We could like, and also Scott Anderson is enormous. And so um, I just don't know the answer to that. We've never tested it. All right, I will say one thing about boxing and chess.
What is
Um,
chess boxing?
so yeah, so
You
um,
box with like chess pieces in your hands, like little.
there's no doubt that Mike would prevail in a boxing. I mean, he trained in boxing for years, right?
Yeah, I mean, people don't. I don't think the Greek chorus knows this. I mean, I was a Golden Gloves boxer in Chicago, in my 20s.
Right. So boxing is just not going to. Now, the interesting question is if you allowed feet, as in kickboxing, and I were allowed to kick him, whether I could prevail because I am actually trained in Taekwondo. And so I think that's where it becomes interesting. But if you limit it just to boxing, um, uh, there's only one of us who's really ever trained in boxing. Chess boxing is an interesting question, Mike. So chess it's like a minute of boxing, and then you have to play speed chess, and then a minute of boxing, and then speed chess. It's a real thing.
Yeah,
It's
Dang.
it's super, super hard because chess is all about slowing down and thinking strategically, and then boxing, you like very little will raise your heart rate like that. Mike, do you play chess?
I do. I prefer backgammon. I don't know why those two games are always grouped together, but I play chess. I think I'm average. I'm not particularly great, but I could hold my own. We have about a 10-year-old nephew who does chess club in the Northern Virginia suburbs, and he schools me regularly.
I
Well,
don't have the patience. I don't care enough for chess. You know, you have to care. Like I'm just like, I'm just gonna move something.
I
I
think
have 10 games of chess going at all times on chess.com, and I have a sort of continue, but my rating is quite low. I'm not a good chess player. That said, I think if we were actually going to do chess boxing across the Lawfare ecosystem, uh, that might be one where I'm competitive. I'm not
I
sure.
think it would come down to you and me, Ben. I'll be honest. I think because I don't have other lawfare members really extensively trained in any form of hand-to-hand combat.
I don't know. The reason this keeps coming back to you and me is that
Yeah.
we are the ones who are trained in pugilism. But but there's some other, I mean, um look, if you're a really strong chess player, you can win at chess boxing by rope-a-doping for one round and then wiping somebody out.
It's really easy to get a concussion and brain damage though by rope-a-doping. And I speak from experience on this. Um, don't underestimate the damage that one punch can do in
Yes,
terms of like,
jujitsu is pugilism,
yeah.
Jeff. Um, hey, I have spent many hours training in rope-a-doping,
Mhm.
because actually the skill of rope-a-doping, if you are of not getting hit and getting hit glancingly rather than directly, if you are in an actual fight, that is a really important skill, particularly if you're dealing with somebody bigger and stronger than you. And since most people are bigger than me,
Mhm.
I have spent a lot of time with that skill. And I am actually pretty confident that faced with a completely incompetent chess player who's bigger and stronger than me, I could rope-a-dope my way through a round and then just crush him in the chess.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'd be remiss as you guys can't see it. This room is filled with boxing memorabilia. I really love this sport. I study its history. Um, Muhammad Ali famously used rope-a-dope in the Rumble in the Jungle in the 1970s to
About
ultimately
which there is a fabulous
When We
movie
Were
called When
Kings.
We
Yes,
Were Kings.
phenomenal documentary. And one of the few Norman Mailer books I would actually recommend as well is about that fight. But, you know, Muhammad Ali himself thinks that that's where he got his brain,
Right.
that's why he declined so precipitously, was getting repeatedly punched in the head by George Foreman. And if you've
Right,
ever
but
seen George
most people
Foreman,
you're going to do chess boxing with
are
are
not
not
George
George
Foreman.
Foreman,
Yes.
right? And most people, I mean, George Foreman is the butt of a lot of jokes because of grills and barbecue grills and the Rumble in the Jungle. But he was a ferocious boxer and
Yes.
put more, put more energy behind a single punch than almost anybody who has ever thrown a punch.
Yes.
Um, and also, those were exquisitely well aimed punches,
Yes.
and Ali was taking one after another of them for like 8 rounds.
Upon rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the explicit goal was to tire the guy out.
And it
Um,
worked. Yeah.
yes, and it's a like that is not an actual fight situation. That's an like an event that we remember for 50 years
Yeah.
because it was so extravagantly unusual, and also because he said in advance that he was going to do it.
And
um,
Foreman still felt like it
right.
still worked.
So,
We should also note one of the only individuals not just to beat Mike Tyson, but to actually just destroy him was Lennox Lewis, who a lot of people don't realize is actually an internationally ranked chess player in addition to being a professional boxer.
Well, so he is the person in the Lawfare ecosystem into which he is now lovingly incorporated who would win the chess
Yeah, we
boxing.
got to get Lennox Lewis to write a piece for Lawfare.
Exactly.
Officially,
Okay. We have 6 minutes. Next question. No, we're not going to fight a cage match for
yeah, I'm
charity.
fucking almost 50 years old. Like,
Are
this
you?
is,
And
this is what
I'm 6 years
Oh,
older
wait,
than
wait,
that.
wait, 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 wait. I will say one condition under which we will do it. And Ben, you don't know the condition, but I think you will agree. If it is made part of the UFC bout on White House grounds to celebrate America's 250th anniversary, I will consider it.
I will not agree to those terms. Um, I, the only terms in which I will do it is if it is the bout that follows my fight with Putin, um, in which the winner gets to fight Mike. That's the, those are the terms. If Putin, by the way, when I made my challenge to Putin, he was still making hockey videos and, he's looking pretty bad now.
Yeah.
He missed his moment. He could have fought me before the symptoms of whatever he's got now are started to kick in. But right now, I would not have to even throw a punch or a kick to beat that motherfucker. And I would take him down to the mat in the first 5 seconds and punch him a few times and it would be over. He's missed his chance at a Wittes fight. And I just want to say, all right, next question. Whoa. Hate and punching people, kind of a tough show. Guys, this is a reflection of the shirt my co-host decided to wear and audience questions here. You can't bring this up as like our responsibility. We didn't bring up boxing.
Does this move us into the manosphere of podcasts? Like, will we now be grouped in with, Joe Rogan and whoever else does this sort of thing?
I don't know. I mean, I would happily have Joe Rogan on the show if he wants to talk about this stuff. Are we going to Quantico tomorrow? Mike,
I'm quite sure I'm persona non grata.
Yeah, what's going on at Quantico tomorrow?
Pete Hegseth has recalled literally every flag officer in the world.
Oh, to talk to them about lethality and warrior culture?
Warrior ethos, I believe, is the term.
Well,
hey, look, it's good. We don't need flag officers
in their
Indo-Pacific or anywhere. Yeah, it's yeah.
Okay, government shutdown this week. Gonna happen? Do we think it's a good thing?
I have two things to say about this. First, this will require the Democratic senatorial leadership to show a fighting spirit that has been
warrior ethos, maybe.
Yes, a warrior ethos that has been remarkably lacking. But I'm going to get serious for a second in that, like, government shutdowns in the time in which I was in government were just a feature almost every fall. And there were many periods where for 2 weeks to a month, me and my coworkers did not get paychecks. And a lot of people don't realize this, but like FBI agents, for example, we didn't get furloughed. We just went to work but didn't get paid. And a lot of younger agents are in cities like New York, Los Angeles, DC, where the cost of living is incredibly high. So as much as I want to see the Democrats fight back on this one, it's not something I am going to publicly wish for, just because I'm really conflicted. Shutdowns have a real effect on policy that could be helpful, but they also have a real effect on individuals' lives, which should not be discounted.
Um, I will say the following, which is, um, I do think the Democrats are going to cave. Um,
Yeah.
and I think this for a few reasons. One is they always do. Um, and number two, they have a very bad hand to play. So even if they didn't cave, even if they were not habitually into caving, they it's not obvious what they could accomplish by shutting down the government for how long or how. And the third thing I will say is that don't kid yourself on the shutdown advocacy side. And I'm not saying I don't necessarily oppose it. I think there are ways to do it that might be helpful or effective. But the Trump will use it to actively dismantle important parts of the federal government. And
Trump's not that sophisticated. Russell
Russell
Voigt
Vogt
will
is,
use,
however,
yeah.
and Trump is the collection of people around him. Folks, we're going to be back tomorrow. Reminder: there's no show on Thursday because it's Yom Kippur, and we will be repenting for being zealots for bad causes, as should you. Um, but Tuesday is not Thursday, notwithstanding my repeated errors last week. We're going to be back tomorrow. I don't know who the co hosts are going to be. I don't know who the guests are going to be, but what the heck? It's going to be fun. I'll be there. And 43 of you may be there as well.